Story 1. My wife is trying to convince me to open our marriage. We've been together for 8.5 years and we're both quite unexperienced when we've met, me more than her, as she's had a BF for some time beforehand. That relationship was rocky and occasionally abusive, from what I've understood. She's also been assaulted once from someone else. This led to her not being to enjoy sex as much since she's built a mental wall. I was made aware of it early in the relationship, so I tried to take things slow. Our sex life wasn't 100% perfect, but I always considered it quite good and did my best to improve it. Was also convinced that it's getting better for her as she seemed to be more relaxed, more open, and been able to come much more. It started degrading slightly some years back as I got recurring cases of ED. I don't know what caused it the first time, but due to her bad reaction it eventually happened again some months later, and then always in shorter intervals until my self-esteem in that area started to take a toll, which led to me initiating sex less and being less confident in fear of it happening. This made her dissatisfied, which I can understand, so I tried to get better again. A year ago, she met a guy at a company event and invited him over to our flat when I was out of town. She told me about it when I was already gone, or shortly before leaving. They talked for hours, and he called the day after and then the day after that. They were in daily contact since then. I never had an issue with her going for a walk with a colleague or something, but this smelled odd from the start for me, and I was gradually getting uncomfortable. She was texting him when lying in bed in the evening, calling him always behind closed doors and stuff like that. I found it suspicious since she's never behaved like this before. I confronted her and she always denied my suspicions, called me jealous and possessive, and threatened that we will have a lot of stress if I don't leave it. My mental health started degrading and I started to fall into a depression and anxiety. This led to more complaints and blaming from her side. For instance, that my energy is so negative. She then started to justify her seeing him and texting him all the time as that she needs to get some breath of normality because with me at home it's such a depressive, suffocating atmosphere. I felt the distance between us growing and was sinking deeper into the despair. We had less sex as a result, and that's when she asked if I'd be okay with her getting it somewhere else. I asked like where and she named him. I broke down after that and had to seek psychological help some weeks later. I was then on antidepressants for a couple of months, which didn't help anyways. She complained about our lack of sex and intimacy and was getting ever more frustrated. Eventually she discussed it with him whether he would be open to having sex with her. He would, even though he's in a relationship. I was still in deep depression, and she figured that it might have something to do with her behavior. She apologized by saying that she might have underestimated how bad my jealousy was. She badgered me anyways for months, until I eventually gave in at the end of July after reading about it and somehow convincing myself that it can't be that bad. For the next 2-3 months we were open, but she didn't do anything as they were not meeting up more than twice during that period, also because we've spent 3 weeks on vacation. At the beginning of October, she got all excited that they are going to meet and that it finally could happen. She got herself all pretty and shaved. I was dying on the inside that day. Told her that she doesn't need to do this, but she left anyways. I was seriously considering deleting myself as many times in the past year, but a call from a friend saved me. When she got back, she said nothing happened and wanted sex in the evening. I was so devastated after that afternoon that I couldn't perform, which made her mad. Some days later I told her that I can't do it and want to be closed again because I could delete myself over it. She was upset and unhappy that I want to close the marriage without us properly trying it out, and keeps repeating that she doesn't want me to suffer or that I sacrifice myself by opening the relationship. But she doesn't want to suffer either. For me it would feel like sacrifice since I have no desire for other women if I'm in a committed relationship. And I also find it disgusting and hurtful for her to be with others, but I'm still considering it and asking myself whether I'm actually being selfish here and really that bad in bed. That's why I'm in this mental mess in the first place. Open relationship in this form feels like glorified cheating, where she can keep her conscience in peace, since I'd agree to it. I guess it can work if everyone is 100% on board, but not like this. But she doesn't want to hear it and can't seem to understand why I don't want it. She tells me that it's just my ego in the way, that she wants to help me get rid of my jealousy, and that I just don't want her to get personal development. That's because her reasoning is, besides her being dissatisfied, also the fact that she doesn't know what she wants and what she likes in bed, that she needs to find herself in this area, which she hasn't done some 10 years ago as everybody else. And I would apparently also get something from it, as I could gather experiences with others, gain confidence again, and have her more satisfied on my side. I'm not sure, but she keeps asking and pressuring me into these days even more, even though I'm giving my best to improve our intimate life. Was anyone in a similar situation? Do you know any stories and their outcomes? I really don't know what to do, as I don't want to lose her, don't want her to be unhappy and dissatisfied. But I also feel like I can't do this open marriage thing. TLDR, wife is not satisfied with our sex life and also wants to explore her sexuality, as she didn't do it in her early 22nd. She's already got a guy lined up and is trying to convince me for months. I'm really afraid and not sure about this, as I have no desire for other people, but she says we need to change something because we are currently both unhappy. I'd do almost anything else rather than opening the marriage up. Any similar experience or stories? Reader comment, tell her no and to never bring it up again until you bring it up. Don't do it unless you are excited about it, as otherwise it's a dumpster fire. Also, she at minimum had an emotional affair, and I would say 99% they banged already. Original poster, the emotional affair happened. She denies, since I knew so it wasn't a secret affair. Also, they sexted once and touched over the phone during our test before I closed things again. That's what I know for sure. I also know he was trying to seduce her many times before we opened the relationship in July. She admitted regretting not doing it, which hurt as F as well. I guess she really doesn't respect me anymore. Reader comment, if you are not okay with an open relationship, then that is okay. As for SX and being satisfied, SX does not all happen with your Johnson. There are many ways to satisfy a woman, and there are things that can help. I can understand the being frustrating, but you don't have to let that stop things. Lastly, there are treatments for Have you explored them? I don't just mean a blue pill, but actually do medical checks for fatigue levels, vitamins, minerals. Original poster, it's not like happens all the time. It's been a recurring issue. At first, I thought it might be from riding the bike too much or something else of the medical kind. Now I just think it's purely psychological, as I sometimes almost be afraid to engage sex with her, since she reacted badly sometimes when I wasn't at my best performance-wise. I'm also aware that penetration is not all there is to sex. I offer really often to please her by mouth, for example, but she refuses more often than she accepts. Reader comment, if it's often enough to be classified as recurring, then it's often enough to go talk to a doctor about. Your Johnson not working doesn't excuse her running to the arms of another man. But good grief, you're doing yourself zero favors. Talking to someone about your fragile mental state would go a long way as well. Original poster, I know I effed up as well for letting it go this far. I guess I just wanted to get clear head and get out of the worst period of the depression before making big decisions like that, since I felt like I can't trust my judgment. I talked to a shrink and she was a bit horrified. Recommended considering a divorce if things don't improve. Story 2. I stay home with the kid while she went to the party. Another guy from the party goes into the same room and the door ends up shut and locked. Posted here before, but on a throwaway with minor details changed because my wife knows my main account. Background, married 10 years. My wife cheated on me early in our relationship with her so-called guy best friend at the time. Admitted it immediately. We broke up, got back together some time later, and essentially rug swept it. Fast forward to 4 years later, we're married, and she goes to a party at a coworker's house. I stay home with the kid. The next morning, she tells me that she got incredibly drunk, ended up going into a bedroom to lay down to not puke, and another guy from the party goes into the same room, and the door ends up shut and locked. They come out 20 minutes later. She says nothing happened, that he laid in the bed next to me, and I told him to keep his distance. Says she took some time to gather her bearings enough to get up and exit the room. The dude claimed the next morning to all his friends there that they messed around. She swears it didn't happen. I kind of let it go and we rug swept again. This was a huge mistake in hindsight, but I was young and dumb and panicked that I had made the wrong choice. I know, very stupid. She still swears to this day nothing happened there. Honestly, I don't think that I believe her. I wouldn't believe it if a friend told me the same story about his wife. Fast forward again to a year ago. I had a gut feeling and didn't let it go. Snooped in her phone and found hundreds of accidentally saved Snapchat messages between her and a guy I've barely met before, some guy she essentially met on a long-term work trip. Nothing absolutely damning in the messages, but lots of him spilling his guts to her, telling her that she's his best friend, complimenting her, etc. Messages at weird hours, 2 or 3 a.m. The messages I could see went back about 2 years. I confronted her and she had a panic attack. She says she never had feelings for him, that he was depressed and she was just trying to help by being a sounding board, and that she never intentionally hid his existence from me despite mentioning his name literally once before. Says she had a panic attack because she knew by my tone and body language that I thought she was cheating and she thought her relationship was ending. Says he messaged at weird hours because he worked night shift. Always a logical explanation for every red flag. I told her she needed to tell him that the level of intimacy in their relationship was inappropriate and that they were to cut contact immediately and forever for there to be any chance of me not walking. She immediately did so without hesitation, but the guy responded back to her immediately completely panicked, asking her not to do this, that he's her best friend, that they're just friends, that I'm being controlling and manipulative, and it's an unhealthy relationship for her. She showed me all of these and didn't try to hide it. She blocked him and as far as I know has not reached out again. This dredged up every past incident. Between these, she was the model wife. Never would have had a major suspicion. After a few rocky months of fighting and me navigating trauma responses, I set out a list of demands for reconciliation counseling for us, individual counseling for her to figure out her issues, a why, complete open device policy, no Snapchat or other vanishing social media. She agreed to all of this enthusiastically. She says in her individual counseling that she has found she has poor boundaries that partially come from CSA in her past. She has been doing the homework and we've talked regularly about her progress. I feel like she is sincere in her efforts and is making good strides. I've told her that I don't feel safe in the relationship since something seems to happen every few years like clockwork. I've told her it's up to her to make me feel safe or I will walk. I've had one foot out the door, bags packed, and she knows that I'm serious. It really feels like her reconciliation efforts are sincere, but I still wonder, and I had a gut feeling recently which I've learned to trust. Nothing I could specifically point to and say, there's my red flag, but little things. 10 minutes, 15 minutes late coming home from work when she was always super punctual in the past. Carrying her phone with her everywhere, even if she's just walking into the next room for a drink and then back. Going to the bathroom more often than usual and spending 10 minutes in there when she just needs to pee. Putting on more makeup than usual in the morning before work and downplaying it when I comment. Toning down the makeup after I commented a few times. A renewed interest in an updated wardrobe. All things with individual, logical explanation, but altogether enough to stir my gut. She went on a work trip recently. We had playfully discussed the possibility of her sending some naughty naughty pics to me while she was there and I was missing her. Well, she did, and they were pretty great. No red flags in the pics, but I still had that gut feeling, so I snooped. I looked through her phone and didn't see the pics she had taken. Not a big deal, probably didn't want them saved on her phone, and deleted them. I checked her deleted folder and there they are, but there are 2 pics she did not send to me in there. They're similar positions to the other ones she sent. They're not blurry or anything, she just didn't send them to me. It's possible she just thought they were unflattering. It's possible she thought they were basically identical to some others she had sent, so didn't send them. I feel like these are the things she will tell me if I ask to, but it's bugging the shit out of me. I don't know how to bring it up to her. At this point, I don't know if she's been upfront about everything that's happened and she's committed to our relationship, or if she feels that way but is slipping, or if she's just a master manipulator and has had me fooled for a decade. How should I go about confronting her about the 2 extra pics? Should I just tell her I snooped and found them and want to know why they weren't sent to me? Do I ask to look through her phone and pull them up in front of her and ask then? Do I lay low and try to gather more evidence? If she is sneaking around, she's doing a very good job of it, as I found nothing else noteworthy on her phone. Reader comment, lay low for now. Maybe put a GPS and VAR in her car. After a week you'll have some sort of pattern. Do not confront with circumstantial evidence, as that pushes things further into the shadows if she's doing something inappropriate. A lot of what you have said are serious red flags, so I would be vigilant. Original poster, we have GPS turned on our phones and always have. I've checked throughout the day and she's always at work. Though I suspect if there is something going on, it's probably with a coworker, as that's the history in the past. Pushing something deeper into the shadows is exactly what I'm afraid of. Thanks for the advice. Reader comment, I personally am of the opinion that for every dozen pic like this, there would be one I would feel comfortable sharing, probably after cropping it down so the shadow on my thigh at that angle with that lighting doesn't accentuate some unflattering aspect. I'm sort of kidding, but not totally. The pics being deleted doesn't seem odd to me either. Since they were taken at the same time and most were sent to you, I would assume those other 2 were the discards for whatever reason I the editing process. Some of the other things you mentioned would probably cause me to wonder, but the pics are actually, in this case, the least concerning element. Original poster, I really appreciate your insight on this part, as well as the others. I'm leaning more towards the picture thing being innocuous too now. Story 3. Talking to her coworker that didn't know we were in a relationship, and he started bragging that he slept with her. Me and this girl met at our job. From the get-go, we instantly connected. I've never connected with someone so well to the point where I felt like I knew them much longer than I actually have. She came into my life when everything else was falling apart, and for a while she was the only one that could instantly make me happy and laugh. Every single second spent with her was like heaven on earth. We spent 5+ hours on our first date literally just laughing and talking for hours. Then when we decided to be exclusive, that's when she started to text me daily, ask how I am, etc. And that's when I fell deep in love. And every day I grew more and more in love to the point where I could see myself marrying this girl. Then on our last date she was extremely cold for what I don't know. The next few days I try and fix things and she just ended. That was in August. For the next few months, I've apologized for how things were and even asked if I hurt her, and she said no, and she forgives me. But she doesn't want to get back together because she thinks it's going to be toxic. Not only that, but she told me she was in therapy and that the relationship stuff was the last thing on her mind. Mind you, I am literally the only person she has told she was in therapy. She didn't even tell her best friend at the time. So I offer my support and tell her I'm there for her. That same week she messages me first telling me she was crying this and that, and I was there and offered my support. Few days later at work she even thanked me for being there for her. Hell, even this week she reached out to me for a little talk since she's sick. From late August to now I have been crying almost every other day about her, to the point I can't even go to the places where I took her because it hurts too much. Honestly, the number of times I've cried over her is embarrassing, but during this time at work, she continuously flirts with me via physical touch, and whenever I think I'm over her, all it takes is for her to smile at me, and I just fall right back in. During this fall, it's been like that, me crying and offering and being there for her because I genuinely wanted to. I genuinely cared for her. I was proud of her accomplishments. She made me feel like I was enough. She made me want to be a better man. I was her biggest supporter. I wanted only the best for her. She was my safe space. I felt like I could tell her anything she was. Home. That all changed last night when me and other coworkers were talking, and come to find out she had slept with one of them. He told me this happened July or August, but can't remember exactly when. We were together all of July but ended things August 10th. When I saw he was telling the truth, my heart fell to the floor. My mouth was quivering, hands shaking, stuttering my words, and I was staring at the floor for how long, and I felt sick, like I wanted to vomit. The male coworker didn't know we were a thing and even apologized, but I don't have any problem with him. You could have asked me 48 hours earlier if I would ever think she would do that, and not in a million years would I have guessed she did. Now I have so many new and mixed emotions, it's like I still can't comprehend this is reality. It's like my brain can't process this happened. She was flirting with guys when we specifically agreed that we were exclusive. Last night I was just asking God why, over and over again for how long. I haven't cried yet because I think I'm still in the denial and anger phase, but I have no idea how to cope with this. I'm an introvert, I don't have a lot of friends, and connecting with others has always been a challenge for me. To think that I told me parents about her and only told good things about her to my friends and family, only for it to end up like this. I'm still sick, like I wanna throw up, but what to do? Please, how do I process what just happened? How do I cope with this? It's like I'm stuck. I have no idea what to do. I see her tomorrow at work. My plan is to not make any mention of it whatsoever, nor be mean to her, but I will try my best to just focus on work. Last thing, she is my first love. I have never felt this way before about anyone else until I met her. Reader comment, Opus, focus on you here. Did you really know her if she was capable of what she did? Probably not. How old are you and her? If you are young, this isn't your last love. You live, you love, you learn. Maybe she just isn't good girlfriend, wife, committed partner material. Maybe she has issues she is working on that are why she has done to you what she did, but it is no excuse for hurting you. Don't be there for her. She is breadcrumbing you and keeping you around in a very selfish and abusive way here. You will see in the future more and more how she truly wasn't the one. It hurts now, but you can get past this. Is it possible for you to find a good therapist to help you here too? She isn't worthy of you. You are more worthy than she. It is a coward who cannot end a relationship and then move on to another, or move on to be single and available to others. There is also an advantage of knowing something she thinks she is hiding or has hidden from you here. Look up gray rocking and use it on her. Do not be available to her anymore. She doesn't deserve you. Original poster, you know what, I'll admit it. I was so desperate to get back together that I went on Relationship Hero to talk about getting her back. And I love my coach, she is like a therapist. But I haven't been able to afford another session with her, but after this I will book one. In relation to her, I just can't deny what I feel for her, and I hate myself for it. I really wanted this to work. Like when she entered into my life, it really felt like a new hope. Like all the stressful things in my life was worth it. I just don't know what to do. Thank you for your advice. I am 23, looking into getting my first career job. Reader comment, Opus. Each time I read was my life, my world. I feel we should ban romantic movies. With this attitude, you are going nowhere. If you define yourself as her accessory, there is only suffering in this path. She is not relationship material, and she is playing you. When you reach this painful conclusion, you will be able to move on. Original poster, I guess I genuinely wanted to be there for her, since I felt bad for her, and genuinely wanted her to get better because I loved her so much, but I guess I was seeing her through rose-tinted glasses, and not seeing who she truly was. Reader comment, I'm not dismissing her part in this at all, but you need to be able to take care of you. You need to arm yourself moving forward in order to not fall suspect to these things in the future. You two do not know each other. You both got high on NRE. She got what she wanted. And when the novelty of you ran out, she chased the high with your coworker. No, you don't want to marry someone you spent 60 days with. Learn to decipher what you did enjoy from your time together and call it what it is. Don't get caught up in love bombing and future faking with someone. It leaves you susceptible to these personality types who want quick and intense whirlwind romances at your expense. Now you're here and she's on to the next. Original poster didn't think of it like this. Thank you. I have definitely learned a lot of things